Okay, for world history, now we're going to be in chapter 11, which is going to be on standard 8.7. Describe the widespread impact of the Roman Empire. Now, the objectives we're going to discuss is the death of Julius Caesar, analyze the causes of the rise of the empire, and examine some of the advancements of the Roman Empire. Now, this is going to be a two-part video. It's too long. It's 24 slides. It's too long for one video, so it's going to be a two-part. So let's go ahead and get started. Cicero was he was a political activist. He was a politician. He was a poet. But he said it needed to be changed. He said that the military was too strong. The military generals had too much power in Rome. And people didn't listen to it. And because of this, we see the rise of Julius Caesar, which is the most powerful general that rose to power. He was a great general and a conqueror and was respected for his military ability. And this is about Julius Caesar. Now, Julius Caesar, of course, does a lot more than this, but we're just talking briefly about some of these people in these chapters. Now, Caesar had two friends, Pompey and Crassus, which was the first triumvirate. They were a trio of people that basically took control of Rome at the end of the Roman Republic. Now, Pompey and his allies rose up against Julius Caesar. They told the people, it was the senators, which was, the people that allied with Pompey. They told him, look, Caesar's getting too powerful. You need to take some of this power for yourself. And so they tried to attack Caesar. They ended up losing. They fled Italy because they didn't think they had enough troops to defeat Caesar. When Caesar returned to Rome in 45 BC, he made himself dictator for life. The Senate was furious because of this, because he limited their power, and he was murdered on the 15th of March, which is the day known as the Ides of March, when the Senate attacked and stabbed Caesar. Now, this is the betrayal of Caesar, where he is killed. Now, of course, in William Shakespeare's play about Julius Caesar, he goes into all the detail about it. And this is where we get the line where his friend Brutus, which is very close to Julius Caesar, winds up stabbing him, and it says that the last words of Julius Caesar was "Et tu, Brute," or "You too, Brutus." Sometimes it says "You too, my son," and killed Julius Caesar. Now, after the assassination of Caesar, two great leaders took control. The first was Mark Antony, which was Caesar's former assistant. He was a friend and an ally of Julius Caesar. The other was the adopted son of Caesar, who was originally called Octavian, but would change the name to Augustus, which would become the first Roman emperor. Now, just a brief thing about that, they wound up hunting down all the people that were responsible for the death of Julius Caesar, killing them. Mark Antony and Cleopatra wound up in a relationship with each other, which means that Mark Antony winds up leaving the sister of Octavian, which is named Octavia, and this makes Octavian mad. So basically, they have a little bit of a civil war. Mark Antony and Cleopatra wind up taking their own lives, leaving Octavian as the sole leader and the first Roman emperor. Now, just some of the advancements of Rome. Romans wanted their scientific and engineering accomplishments to benefit their society. The Roman doctors would study the Greeks to improve their knowledge of medicine. Basically, they were building on the bedrock of other civilizations, saying, okay, what did they do? And how can we improve it? And so the Greeks and the Romans were having a lot of similarities. And when we get into talking about the Renaissance, we're going to talk a little bit about that some. The Romans were great builders, and one of the greatest Roman inventions was concrete. They was the first people to develop concrete. The Romans would build roads in layers to make it more durable. They would just build them on top of each other, making it more packed down. They would also use arches to make their structures more secure, and they developed the aqueduct. Now, if you remember from when we did our projects, a lot of people did an aqueduct, working aqueduct, and you can get an idea from that. I got a picture on the next slide I'm going to show as well. It's a raised channel used to carry water from mountains into cities, and this is what aqueducts look like. And if you notice, they're using the arches on this one on the right side to hold this up, to build the structure up. Architecture and art. Romans would copy Greek designs when it came to architecture, such as columns. The architecture also made vaults that were high structure or huge structures, such as the Colosseum. The Colosseum was a building constructed for gladiator battles, and of course, this is a picture of the Roman Colosseum. Some people also made the Roman Colosseum for their projects. So that's just kind of a part of the history and the developments of Rome and Roman architecture. Now, just a few things in literature and language. Rome was home to some of the greatest writers of the world. Virgil, which we talked about, was the author of the Aeneid, which is the story of Aeneas. And so we kind of discussed a little bit about what happens with Aeneas. And so we talked about that when we talked about Greek history. I believe it's chapter 8. Ovid was a Roman poet. And just a little bit about the religious beliefs in Rome. And I'm kind of rushing through all this. So I'm covering entire chapters. I knock out a lot of the slides. And I cover entire chapters in these videos. So, you just have to bear with me. I talk a little bit faster than when I teach. I cover it in a little less detail, but I'm just trying to get the main points out there. So a little about Roman religious beliefs. When the Romans conquered people, they would allow them to keep their religious beliefs. They were pretty tolerant of other religions. Many Romans worshipped the Olympian gods of Greece, and when they conquered Greece, they made the Greek gods the main gods of Rome also. They just changed their names. They also adopted gods and beliefs from the Egyptians, the Gauls, and the Persians, and kind of meshed all that together to make a Roman culture of gods. The Romans were practical. They didn't really know which gods were real, so they just kind of worshipped whoever. The only time they would ban a religion is when they thought it was a political problem. One of these was Judaism. Christianity is also going to be one of the ones that became banned by the Roman Empire because of its danger. Now, and so I'm going to talk just a few minutes about that. Christianity was also a religion that was considered a political problem, and Christians were persecuted by the Romans. Now, what happens here, and I ask a question in my class, I do an assignment that says, why do you feel there was religious tension in Rome during this time? And the idea behind it was that they looked at Judaism and Christianity, and some of the things they taught went against the idea of Rome being the center of the universe. For example, in Christianity, the idea that Jesus was seen as being the Messiah was the idea of a coming king, one that would be above Caesar. And so to the people, they was like, look, this king, this Jesus, is supposed to be more important than the Roman Empire or the Roman emperor. And so because of this is a threat to the Roman Empire. And that's the way they perceived it. This is the reason why Christianity was considered a problem, because the idea of Jesus, if Jesus was actually a Messiah, then, and he was a coming king, then that was a problem for Caesar. And so that was the main reason why that Rome wouldn't have religious tolerance on some religions, is when they seen it as a political threat to what they was trying to do. Now, Constantine was the Roman emperor that ended the persecution of Christians. We'll talk more about him a little bit later on. So, with Problems of Empire, we will stop this video and we will start part 2 of this. So watch part 2 of this video, and we will talk about with Diocletian and the division of the Roman Empire, ultimately the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of Justinian and Theodora, who tried to reunite it. So stick around for the next video for that information.